Alright folks, so what is up? This is One Big Bug and I'm coming at you with Euro Truck Simulator 2. And we're just continuing as we always do. This is our second run with fast jobs because we don't have enough money to get our own truck. So I forgot to order test because I was so eager just to get going. But what I did do is I went back and I listened, and the game volume seemed okay to me. Maybe it could have been a little louder, but it seemed like my mic volume was a little loud. But nobody said anything. Nobody said, you know, this is loud, this is too soft. So I left the game volume where it was, but I did take my microphone volume down by 10. So from 100 to 90, and I may drop it again to 80. What I'd like to know is what, of course, as always, is, you know, if a couple of you could just tell me what you think. If the volume is too loud, if the volume's too quiet. You know, if my voice, what I mean is my voice is too loud and the game's too quiet, because that seemed to be the major issues that I heard, is that maybe the game was a little too soft, and speaking of which, could use a little bit more in my ears, and the game was a little too soft, my voice was a little too loud. So nothing major happening for me except for the new expansion drop of Hearthstone, which brings in the gameplay that everyone had been waiting for, and that is standard. I will give the best rundown example I can of what it is. Basically, what standard is it eliminates cards, or actually it eliminates entire expansions from the most current play. So in short, if you want to play standard, you can only play from the newest expansion and the two previous expansions and the classic cards, the very first cards that were released. The expansions that came between Classic and the expansions that came between Classic and we'll say, I think it's Black Rock Mountain, which is the most current. So the expansions that came between Black Rock Classic, when Hearthstone was first released, and Black Rock Mountain cannot be used. And this has made the game feel so refreshing. It has. There were a lot of very powerful cards that you would just constantly see, regardless of what was been released. It's what's basically known as an issue of power creep. Every new set that comes out, you kind of need cards that are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the cards you've recently released, or else nobody's going to use them. But even then, even in trying that, it wasn't happening. People were still playing the same cards. They were still playing the same combos. You might occasionally find, wow, I'm in 12th. I'm almost at 1500 RPM at 100 kilometers, and usually I cruise at 10 faster. Well, that's neither here nor there. Anyways. But people would keep using the same cards. They would keep playing the same decks with only a few minor tweaks of whatever came out recently. So by implementing standard, what they basically do is they eliminate those cards that are really strong and that would force them to make cards that are even stronger in order to be used. And it allows them to continue to make good cards using what they learned from their previous expansions to keep them better balanced and to make sure that they're not too overpowered. And it helps eliminate combos that are really strong and that may not go away very easily. You know what I'm saying? Some of the deck names that one deck name in particular, possibly even two, that was really powerful was the Secrets Paladin. Paladin has this card known as Mysterious Challenger. You can cast him for 6 mana. He's a 6/6 body, which isn't that great, but he puts 1 copy of every secret that you have into play. What's a secret? Kind of think of it like a trap card from Yu-Gi-Oh! If you do a specific action, the secret triggers. And one of the most powerful secrets that a paladin had was known as Avenge. I hate when they do that. Avenge was when a minion died. When a minion dies, you're just determined to get in front of me, aren't you? When a minion dies, you give another minion +3 attack and +2 health. And it made a lot of minions very strong. And it was really hard to deal with on top of all the other secrets that a paladin would have out, which I won't go into. It's just say it was a lot and that it was really fucking annoying to deal with. Okay? That's good enough. Anyways. Well, not to say that maybe a secret paladin won't be around anymore, but with the rotation of standard coming in, if you play in the standard format, all that speed just to get to a damn gas station. Paladins lose their most powerful secret, Avenge. So when you kill something, they won't be getting full 3. Paladin lost a lot of power, not nearly as much as Druid, though. Druid lost a lot of power. But anyways, I'm trying not to breathe into the mic too much. I have it off just to my just to my left. That helps deal with some of the echo issue. Some of it, not much of it. So that helped deal with that. Combo Druid was knocked down pretty hard. What was a Combo Druid? A Combo Druid could kill you at 14 health. With his basic combo, with a slightly stronger combo, he could take you at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. He could kill you at 22 health. Keeping in mind your max health, your max base health, and only a warrior can go over... Well, no, a warrior and a druid can go over max base health. Your max base health is 30. And with an elevated combo, a... How is that my fault? I've never liked that about this game. And I don't know why they don't fix it. That car bumped into me, and I get charged 400 for it. Whatever. Anyways, an elevated combo could do 22 points of damage to you, and there were ways that druids could squeeze even more out of that. So you had to be very particular when facing a druid, and 99% of druids played, good thing I moved over, played combo druid. I wasn't one of them. I played a beast druid because I prefer to play decks that are fun, unique, and challenging. And, well, as opposed to competitive. Because if I tried to be just competitive, I get angry at losing. But if I play games for fun, I have the excuse of, well, it's not a serious deck. Makes up for my lack of skill. But yeah, so Combo Druid had that combo completely taken away from him. So a lot of the more what people would consider cancerous decks, and a lot of the cancerous cards, because Blizzard was constantly um, making cards that had to keep up with their previous expansion, and even better it, because well, that's what expansions kind of do when you're dealing with card games or MMOs or whatever. I mean, everyone might remember, a lot of people at least will remember, when the Burning Crusade came out for World of Warcraft. That one of the major issues was the very first trash mob would drop a green item, which is the lowest special item you can get, and your lowest special item would be better than your epic items by large margins. And a lot of people had some severe issues with that. It was like all the work and everything they had done in getting their biggest and most powerful armor and weapons they could, to have it all nullified on the first green drop of a trash mob was pretty aggravating, if they were to be honest. So that aside, anyways, because I don't want to get into the word, that's kind of what the new expansion was doing, and what the developers for Hearthstone were trying to avoid. There's this one card in particular that anyone who plays Hearthstone knows quite well, Dr. Boom. It was a 7 mana cost card. It was a 7/7, but he dropped what was known as 2 boom bots. These boom bots were 1/1s. So automatically, if you add the stats together, you have a 7/7 and 2 1/1s, making it 9/9 worth of stats for 7 mana. But they had the added effect of, when these boom bots would be hit, they would randomly throw a bomb. They would throw a bomb at a random target, and they would do 1 to 4 damage. So you could potentially have a 7/7 body that could do a max total of about 13. Yeah, it was about 13 damage. Because let's say the boombot, let's say you're hitting your opponent straight on, but you have to kill a couple little things in front of them. So you use the 2 boombots, 1 attack, to get rid of the small thing, and then both bombs hit for 4, and then your Dr. Boom hits for 7. That's a one-off turn of nearly half your opponent's life if they were at 30. Now, granted, that would rarely, if ever, actually happen, but that doesn't matter either. It was still a very powerful card, and very annoying and difficult to work with. Or to deal with, rather. It was a very annoying and difficult card to deal with. Well, in Standard, Dr. Boom no longer exists. There is no more Dr. Boom. I personally will never go back to the wild format. Wild format is you can play whatever cards you have, whatever cards you want, whatever combination you want. But I won't do that. I won't do that ever for any reason. I'm only ever going to play Standard because I find Standard much more fun. The developers at Blizzard have basically learned a lot from their previous expansions. I need to go this way. Yeah, I'm getting some frame rate issues because of the city up ahead. I need to turn my graphics down a little bit more, I think. Although, compared to some things I used to get, it's not too bad. Okay, now it is, because I'm in the city. And then it gets... Well, that may have been just a slowdown that I experienced. Right now, it's not too bad. But maybe I could turn it down a little bit more. So as I was saying, the developers have learned a lot since putting out their expansions about balancing cards better. And there are some cards that they put out that are just downright bad. And maybe they're bad on purpose, or maybe they think that they're actually good, balanced, and should work the way they put out. I don't know. But whatever the case, there are some really good cards and there are some really bad cards in the new expansion, but none of them are truly seen as insanely overpowered, much like Dr. Boom actually was. He was seen as insanely overpowered, and he was insanely overpowered. And the game just feels fresh, and that was a big hitch. Yeah, I can't wait to dust off my computer. That might help some. I should be able to go shopping. Good job. I get paid either tonight or tomorrow, most likely, not guaranteed. So hopefully I can get an air can and dust out my computer properly. And that will help with the hitching some. It won't eliminate it, but it'll help. But I know I was talking about, yeah, but the developers just learned a lot from putting out the expansions and how to balance better. And there's just a lot more fun in the game now. One of the very first decks I crafted and put together with the dust that I was able to get from getting rid of all of my wild cards, because I don't want wild cards at all. But what I got from getting rid of all of that, plus disenchanting some other cards, one of the very first decks I created was a Yogg-Saron mage deck. Yogg-Saron is one of the 3 old gods that came out in this expansion. And his effect is cast a random spell on a random target for every spell, or cast a random spell on a random target for every spell that you had cast this game. Which in short means that if I cast, let's say, 15 spells, I drop Yogg-Saron on turn 10, because all old gods are 10 mana. They're very powerful cards. Again, to compare them to a game that more people know, I believe. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! They're like the old gods of Yu-Gi-Oh! Very, very powerful cards that do very, very powerful things. But Yogg is really good. So if I cast 15 spells, Yogg will cast 15 random spells. Now that's not random spells from my class. So if I'm playing mage, he doesn't cast 15 random mage spells. He casts 15 random spells from all the classes. And he casts them on random targets. Wow, my truck suddenly bit to the left on that one. Now, let's say you want even more hilarity and all that, okay? Let's say you want even more insanity. Well, there's this card known as Brand's Bronzebeard. Brand's Bronzebeard ability, and that is hard to say, it is a tongue twister. His ability is, whenever a minion with a battle cry comes into play, double its effect. So whatever that minion does when it comes into play, the effect gets doubled. So if the minion draws a card, you draw 2 cards. If the minion gains 5 health, it gains 10 health. All things like that, yeah? And that's what makes this deck really, really cool. Or that's what makes him really, really cool. Now, there are ways to be able to... Well, there's one way that I know of to be able to drop Brand's Bronzebeard and Yogg-Saron in the same turn with a card known as Emperor Thorson. Emperor Thorison's ability is at the end of your turn, reduce the mana cost of all cards in your hand by 1. Well, if you have Yogg and Brand in your hand at the same time, Brand is 3, Yogg is 10, you would need Bran, or you would need Emperor Thorson rather. Getting a lot of hitching. Again, I think that'll be somewhat dealt with when I clean my computer. But it also could be the mods. Until I clean my computer, I'm just not gonna know for sure. But you would need 2 turns to be able to pull that off. Because in turn 1, Yogg goes to 9, Brand goes to 2, and at the end of turn 2, Brand goes to 1, and Yogg goes to 8. So that would be a total of 9, which you could play on your 3rd turn. Without Yogg or Brand in your hand, you need Emperor Thorson to last 3 turns instead of 2. And you can cast it on your 4th turn, per se. But for the most part, what you're doing is you're hoping to put your Brand out onto an empty board, or have it be in a non-threatening position, and hope your opponent isn't quite smart enough to kill your Brand, or doesn't have the ability to kill your Brand on their turn. And then you drop Yogg-Saron. Yogg-Saron's ability to cast random spells is a battle cry. Yes, it is. It is a battle cry. So, therefore, that means that if you cast, and I have, if you cast, let's say, 20 spells in a match, Yogg will cast 40 random spells. And, whoa, sorry, I went to move my hand to scratch an itch on my side, and I ended up catching my controller. See, the cameras realized I was getting up in speed. So I'm pretty sure they're cameras. Excuse me, I'm a little tired. Now, at 40 spells, usually somebody will end up dead. The board will end up flipped. In short, they'd be lucky for anything to be left on the board. I did this to my opponent one time. He had like 10 minions on the board. You can't have 10 minions. He had 7 minions on the board. He had a full board, plus he had a few cards in his hand. I ended up casting Yogg-Saron. He still had a few cards in his hand, but his board was empty. My board was empty, and I had an empty hand. Well, now I had like 6 cards in my hand. And it just got insane, you know. It is not a seriously competitive deck. It can be with a few changes, but I made it the way that the guy that built it. I didn't build it. I made it the way the guy built it originally, which is to try and put the maximum number of spells that you can into effect. Sorry, my nose always bothers me when I do this. I don't know why. But try and put the max number of spells into effect you can before you drop Yogg-Saron. So when you do that, and when you get Yogg casting upwards or more than 40 spells, it just becomes hilarious, the kind of stuff that happens. I had my Yogg-Saron pump himself and a minion that was on, and Brand. It was Brand that was on the board. Pump them up to ludicrous amounts of attack, and then destroy themselves. Destroyed Brand and then destroyed himself. Yogg very rarely lives after you drop him. It's hilarious. He's the suicidal old god because he almost always kills himself when you put him down to play. It's absolutely hilarious. I've never laughed so hard in my life. And even playing a more serious deck like my Cthulhu Priest. Cthulhu is another old god. He starts out as a 6/6. But there are a lot of cards in this new expansion that say give your Cthulhu plus whatever, wherever it is. So if it's in your deck, if it's in your hand, if it's on the board, these cards will give it plus attack and plus health. Well, that's pretty cool. You can get a really big creature, but there are ways to deal with really big creatures, isn't there? And the answer is yes, there is. There's actually lots of ways to deal with really big creatures. But Cthulhu has a battle cry. And that battle cry is he deals his attack damage to random enemy targets when called into play. So if your Cthulhu is a 20/20, he will randomly do 20 damage to everything on the enemy side of the board, including the enemy. Hey, sheesh, that scared me. Including the enemy, him or herself. So if your opponent has 18 health and you manage to clear your opponent's board and they don't put anything else on that board, or you manage to clear your opponent's board on your turn without using mana, which is possible, you drop your Cthulhu and he will do 20 points of damage to your opponent, killing them. But even my Cthulhu deck is really, really strong, and it's really funny. So that's really cool. I've been looking to try out my Druid Cthulhu deck as well. I have a couple old... sorry, I don't mean to keep yawning. I have a couple old decks that I've modified a little bit. My Dragon Paladin and my Dragon Warrior, which theoretically could still remain competitive in today's meta in Hearthstone. But doesn't mean they will. But I've kept them around for now until I can craft a more updated version. I'd actually like to craft the Paladin Dragon Lord deck, maybe even the Priest Dragon Lord, because I can craft up to 18 decks now, which is really cool. I actually want, there's a Ramp Druid card or Ramp Druid deck that I want to play as well, just because it's fun and hilarious to play, and those are kind of the decks I'm looking for. So time will tell. I wouldn't even mind sharing some gameplay if I remember to record it, just to show the hilarity of it all. So I don't suppose I could have passing. I was hoping he'd turn, honestly. Yeah, for some reason I'm feeling like really extra tired right now, and I'm not sure why. I don't feel like I should. I just finished eating about an hour ago. Although granted, that was only my second meal today, and my first meal consisted strictly of 2 bologna sandwiches with 1 piece of bologna each, 2 pieces of cheese, and some mustard. Oh, and the bread, of course. So that's all I've had. I've had 2 bologna sandwiches, 2, we'll call them medium-sized potatoes, a can of peas, and turkey sausage. About 3/4 pounds worth of turkey sausage. That's my second meal. One of the main reasons I do this is because I'm up late at night. I can't cook late at night, and I'm out of quick things to make, like my microwavable meals and Hot Pockets and whatnot. So I can't go out and heat them up real quick. So I'm only allowed to eat twice a day because I get up so late. Too low. Yeah, we're just really gonna kind of make this. Oh, that snuck up on me faster than I expected. So, just some reason I'm just feeling like really ultra extra tired right now, and it feels really strange. Come on, guys, before that light changes again. Yeah, it's really bad right now. The advantage of fast jobs, not having your own truck, you don't pay for gas, you don't pay for tolls, you don't pay for ferries. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's not bad, to be honest. I'm half tempted to keep doing random jobs until I make enough money to buy my own truck. To be honest with you. Next week, I may decide I may want to go into talking about bullying in all its many forms, including unintentional. And the main reason I might want to do that, or I say next week, next video, which should come out Friday. And the main reasoning behind me wanting to do that is simply, it's going to be easy enough. Something happened today. Well, actually, something happened a really long time ago, and I only found out about it today. And it was to a friend of mine by people that I work with. And I'll go over it real quick while I back up. A friend of mine went to this place on Second Life that I work, and because of the avatar she chooses to wear, which I think is really, really nice, I really liked her look. She was poked fun at, and it got to the point where she felt bad enough that she just up and left. I confronted somebody in that. No, I'm not going to turn in time. I'll pull it a little bit. I confronted somebody in that, and they said, I do remember this. And, well, it was just in good fun. We were just joking around. She must have taken it wrong. Now, I often find that to be the verbal case of people who are choosing to be mean or saying mean things and joking around with each other while actually hurting somebody's feelings. They think it's funny, but the reality is it's not. It's a justification for an action that I don't believe should be allowed. To be honest. Why does this still say? Oh, because I didn't click on. Okay, we done? Thank you. It's a justification for an action I don't think should be allowed in any form whatsoever, but I'm not going to get into that right now. And I even confronted this person, and I said, well, where do you draw the line when you're poking fun at somebody thinking it's funny and it actually hurts them, what you're saying? You're saying, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, but it's her fault for taking it wrong? Really? No, it's your fault that you opened your mouth and said something that hurt somebody, and you're being even a bigger jerk by not taking responsibility for it and saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was only trying to be silly, and obviously you didn't feel that way. That's your fault. That's not the other person's fault for taking it that way. That's kind of what I want to go into in my next vid. If I remember, anything could happen between now and then, where I talk about something completely different, or I even just forget to talk about it. Who knows? So let's see our next quick job, because I know I can't get the proper wind turbine nacelle. That should be an interesting tow. 21 tons, and we get the Scania R Highline, not the Scania R. The Scania R Highline, which is the expansion truck that all Scania drivers kind of looked at and went, eh, and went back to driving their Scania. We have a 16-ton Caterpillar 422 and 938G, and that's going to be in the DAF XS Superspace. This is actually still far superior. But I'm just looking. There's also concrete pipes, car parts, and Rosenberg Panther, which would be the military cargo at 38 tons, which is actually pretty big. And that being on an Iveco Stralis highway would probably be a tough tow. But of course, we're going to take the 21-ton wind turbine. So let's just see what's like. We're getting a pretty basic Scania Highline as well. So should prove interesting. I have new mail. Oops. Definitely an interesting cargo. Take a look at that. That is the top mount piece of a windmill. The blades would fit into each one of those blue cap spots. So it's not a particularly long trailer, but it is a somewhat heavy trailer. So interesting. But alright folks, that is going to be me done for this episode. I just want to peek at the bank real quick. Oh, I could get my 400,000 already, and I can borrow a grand total of 500,000. Well, guess what we're doing next episode? And I do mean next episode because I've already taken a job this episode. So yeah, look, we got the basic Scania 360 engine. We got a base Scania for towing 21 tons, or is it 16? I think it's 16. I don't know. No, it's 21. The excavators were 16. But that's neither here nor there. That is going to be me done for this episode, folks. I hope you've been enjoying this as much as I've been enjoying bringing it to you. Until next time, this is going to be One Big Bugga.